On August 8th, 2025, in the depths of Brazil, a young girl of just 14 stopped breathing for several minutes, and what she witnessed on the other side is far from being a simple dream. Camila returned with images so clear, so disturbing, that they even involve a living president in office. According to her, the message came directly from Jesus, but it carried with it a warning that knows no borders. Listen to every word and stay until the end, because then you will understand why you cannot ignore it. My name is Camila. I am 14 years old, and until the morning of August 8th, 2025, my life was summed up in simple, almost routine things. I lived in a small town in the north of Brazil, a place where everyone knows each other and where the afternoons are so hot that even the dogs look for shade under the mango trees to sleep. Our house was modest, painted a pale yellow that was peeling in some corners, but it overflowed with human warmth. My father worked in a motorcycle repair shop. His hands were always covered in grease, but he never lacked a smile. My mother, who sold at the market, had that infinite patience to listen to the endless stories of the customers. And then there was my grandmother, almost always sitting in her wicker rocking chair with a rosary between her fingers, although next to it she kept small pouches of herbs and amulets that, according to her, protected the house from bad winds. I loved going to school, even though I wasn't part of the most popular group. My dreams came and went. Sometimes I wanted to be a veterinarian because it hurt my soul to see an animal suffer. Other times, a journalist because I couldn't help but ask everyone questions. My room was my kingdom, the walls covered with magazine clippings, a shelf with a few second-hand books, and an old radio that crackled with interference but always kept me company. In my family, Catholic faith was natural. We went to Mass on Sundays and prayed before eating. But with my grandmother, there was always a different touch. Between two Hail Marys, she would tell me about dreams that warned of the future, prayers that had to be said walking backwards, or what to do if you heard footsteps behind you without seeing anyone. I never knew exactly where religion ended and my grandmother's superstitions began. But those stories fascinated me. They gave daily life a mysterious flavor, as if every corner hid a secret. 3 days before what was about to happen to me, something began to change. It all started with a dream, a black parrot, and I had never seen one that color. It walked beside me along an empty street. It didn't fly. It moved quickly on its feet, like a hurried old man. Its voice was not that of a bird. It was deep, almost human, and it kept repeating the same phrase: "They are waiting for you on the other side, but do not hurry." I woke up with my heart racing, not knowing if it had been amusing or unsettling. The next night came the noises. While everyone slept, I heard from the street the dragging of chains across the ground. It was a slow, heavy, constant sound. I lay still in bed, straining my ears. The noise came closer, but there were no footsteps, only metal scraping against the stones. When I finally gathered the courage to look out the window, I saw nothing, not even a stray dog. I tried to convince myself it was my imagination, but the following night it happened again, and then that strange metallic taste appeared in my mouth. It wasn't strong, but it wouldn't go away, as if I had licked a coin and the taste refused to disappear. Neither water nor sweets would change it. I thought it might be the heat or a mild fever, but deep down I knew something wasn't right. The morning of August 8th seemed normal. I had a headache, and my mother gave me a pill from the neighborhood pharmacy. Nothing unusual. I took it with some orange juice and kept studying for a biology exam. Less than an hour later, a strange sensation ran through me from head to toe. First, my hands turned cold and sweaty. Then the sounds around me began to distort, as if everyone was speaking underwater. I got up to go to the kitchen, but the floor seemed to ripple under my feet. The colors became more intense, almost painful to look at. My breathing quickened, and that metallic taste turned into something bitter, unbearable. I called my mother, but my voice sounded far away, as if it came from another room. A buzzing filled my ears. My eyelids closed without my control, and just before everything went black, I saw the parrot perched on the back of the chair in front of me, motionless, staring at me. Its eyes shone like two tiny blades. This time, it didn't speak, but I knew it knew perfectly well where I was going. After that, nothing. The blackness that surrounded me wasn't like closing my eyes. It was a blackness that swallowed sounds, that erased even the memory that anything else could exist. There were no noises, no air, no movement. It wasn't panic I felt. It was a strange certainty. I knew I wasn't breathing, and yet I wasn't suffocating. Slowly, something appeared before me. It wasn't light. It was a floor, an immense floor stretching beyond sight. As I moved forward, I realized it was black sand, so dark it absorbed the light that touched it, yet it glittered here and there, as if mixed with tiny metallic shavings. The horizon wasn't a sky, but something like an invisible ceiling, and floating above the sand were clocks, hundreds, maybe thousands, suspended in the air, motionless. Their hands were broken or stopped at different times. Some had cracked glass, others had lost parts of their frames. They made no sound, but their mere presence weighed as if each carried a fragment of history. I walked. Or perhaps I slid, I don't know. My feet left no prints in the sand, and I felt neither cold nor heat. Then I saw them, the bearers of scales. There were 3, aligned, spaced at perfect distances. Their bodies were translucent, as if made of solid vapor, and their faces weren't faces. Where one expects eyes, a nose, and a mouth, there was a broken mirror, each fragment reflecting a different image. I saw my own face split in pieces, my body in fragments, as if I weren't whole. In their hands, each held a golden scale. The pans moved slowly, pushed by an invisible breath. They said nothing, but I could feel they were waiting for me. Behind them, a figure appeared, and something inside me knew it was him, Jesus. But he didn't look like the images I had seen in catechism or paintings. His tunic was a dark red, as if dyed with wine or dried blood. His hands were covered in golden dust that sometimes fell, mixing with the black sand. His face was calm, but his eyes were not ordinary. When he looked at me, inside his pupils I saw images pass by as if they were windows. His gaze had a kind of accent, if I can say that. Yes, like a voice but visual. When he spoke, his voice was deep, slow, with an accent I didn't recognize. It wasn't Brazilian, Spanish, or English. It was something different. He didn't ask me anything. He also didn't say, "Do not be afraid," as they often tell. He spoke in short, enigmatic phrases. The weight of the innocent already crushes the earth. I wanted to ask what that meant, but before I could open my mouth, his eyes changed images. I saw a huge scale suspended in a gray sky. On one pan, thin Latin American children, with bluish lips. Some trembled, others stayed still with a lost gaze. Behind them, shadows held small white packages. I knew without being told it was fentanyl. On the other pan, armed men, not only with weapons but arrogant smiles, gestures as if they knew they were being filmed. I understood they were aware of being watched, like in a news broadcast or live stream. The scale tilted toward the children, and I felt a knot in my stomach. A voice that wasn't Jesus spoke from behind him. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. They will strike those who pull the strings, but the innocent are already paying the price. A shiver ran through my entire body. Then another image appeared in Jesus' eyes. A dark room lit by low lamps, a round black marble table, and around it several men. Among them, I recognized Donald Trump. He had a pen in his hand and a document before him. The letters were clear, in capitals: military order against the cartels. I sign. Raising his eyes, he looked at someone, but I couldn't see who. Then I felt a breath. Not a gentle wind, but like an invisible wave hitting me in the chest. My body, or whatever I was at that moment, was pushed backward, away from Jesus, away from the scale, away from the black sand and the clocks. Everything began spinning around me, like erasing a picture too quickly. The last thing I saw before my eyes opened in the real world was the celestial scale falling. It touched the sand, and upon impact it disintegrated into red dust, a dust that rose like a cloud of pulverized blood, and then nothing. When I opened my eyes, the light was white, almost cruel, but it didn't have the heat of the sun. It smelled of disinfectant. I could feel the light, or rather, the air that illuminated. A mix of bleach and cold plastic surrounded me, and for a few seconds I didn't know if I was really breathing or still on the other side. Sounds came afterward, muffled, as if my ears were underwater. Voices, distorted. One trembled, another repeated my name. I turned my head and saw a blurry face, eyes shining with tears. I thought I recognized a smile, but it trembled too much to be reassuring. It took me several seconds to understand it was my mother, and yet part of me didn't want to believe it. She seemed out of place, like an image badly pasted onto the background. In my mind, I was still there, in the black sand, with the metallic taste of silence. My body felt heavy, as if filled with stones. They spoke to me, but I didn't answer. I didn't want to. I just wanted to close my eyes and return to the scale, but it was gone. The days that followed were a haze. They brought me food, and I realized that meat disgusted me. Even the smell of chicken broth made me nauseous. Before, I loved my grandmother's feijoada. Now it seemed that every animal carried an invisible weight. Sudden noises, a door closing, a book falling, made me jump violently. The thought of a firearm, even if only in a movie, turned my stomach. And there was something else. I could no longer listen to a political speech without instantly feeling a dissonance, as if hollow words echoed false in my bones. It was physical, almost painful. Little by little, the images returned to me. Not all at once, but in fragments, as if my memory feared burning me. The black sand, the stopped clocks, the golden scales, and above all the phrase, "They will strike those who pull the strings." But the innocent are already paying the price. I understood it wasn't a metaphor. What I saw, the emaciated children, bluish lips, the armed men smiling at cameras, wasn't a symbol. It was a warning. An imminent attack, not a simple police operation, a strong blow. And that blow, though aimed at the cartels, though it intends to end a great evil, will also crush those who never chose to enter that game. The poorest, those who live in the wrong place at the wrong time. I remember Trump, his hand signing on the black marble. That gesture was etched in my mind like the first tick-tock of an invisible clock. Since then, I feel time running in countdown. I don't know how much is left or what the end will be like. But everything in me says every second matters. In my mind, Trump ceased to be just a foreign president I saw on the news. He became a key piece on a global board I never imagined. He is neither a savior nor an executioner. He is a lever, and someone, somewhere, is about to pull it. But what I brought back from there is not only fear, it is an order. Yes, a spiritual order, an ultimatum. Evil will be struck, but if no one rises, the innocent will fall. That phrase resonates louder than the voice. It's like an invisible tattoo in my mind. And I think I understand that to rise does not mean to take up arms. It means to prepare the soul, protect the children, reject lies even if they come wrapped in promises. Since that day, every time I see a young person my age, I ask myself, would they be ready if everything changed tomorrow? And many times, the answer chills me. Camilla didn't just brush against death. She crossed into a realm that exists, in no book. She heard a message that surpasses her own life and saw images that unite the spiritual with the political with chilling precision. Her testimony is a warning. Children already broken by the poison of the cartels, military decisions in preparation, and that celestial scale ready to tip. So, if what she saw wasn't a simple metaphor, but a stage that has already begun, what would we do? And above all, what would you do? Think, question, debate. Leave your opinion in the comments. Share this testimony. And if you want to discover other stories that shake, subscribe. Because perhaps this won't be the last time visions like this cross our screens. The sand has begun to fall from the scale, and no one will be able to stop it.